You settle into the dark, the flicker of a candle casting shadows on stone walls, a faint chill creeping through the cracks of your world. The tales tonight are not of knights or battles, but of queens' women whose desires burned hotter than any hearth, whose scandals carved their names into history's underbelly. Their bedchambers were battlegrounds, their crowns heavy with secrets. Before you sink deeper, pause, let your voice echo in the comments below. Tell us where you're listening from, what hour cloaks your night. Like this tale. If it stirs you, subscribe. If it binds you to this shadow journey. Now dim the lights, let the hum of the world fade and step into a realm where power and passion collide with a blade's edge. These queens didn't just rule, they shattered the rules, leaving whispers of intrigue and blood in their wake. You stand in Naples, 1343, where the air smells of salt and ambition. Joanna barely crowned strides through her court, her velvet gown trailing like a challenge. Tradition. A chain she snaps with a smile. Her first husband, Andrew of Hungary, kneels before her, his eyes wary, his breath catching as her fingers linger on his cheek, a touch both tender and menacing. By dawn he's found dangling from a window, the rope tight, his face frozen in betrayal. An accident, they say, but the court's whispers are sharper than daggers. Joanna's hand, or one she paid, pulled the knot. Her next suitors, 3 more husbands, fall like leaves. Each outlived, each a stepping stone to her power. Rumours swirl of a trapdoor beneath her bed, a lover's plunge into the moat's icy jaws after a night of sweat and secrets. True or not, the tale clings to her like perfume, dangerous, intoxicating. You see her now, her crown glinting, her gaze promising both pleasure and peril. You glide through the opulent halls of Naples, where Joanna reigns with a grace that masks her steel. Elegance drapes her like a cloak, but beneath it simmers a theatrical fire. Wars rage outside her windows, papal decrees thunder like distant storms, yet she dances through them, her laughter echoing over rivals' graves. Political foes circle like wolves, but she disarms them with a glance, a whispered promise that could mean alliance or doom. Bedroom scandals. They fuel her legend. Lovers vanishing into the night, their secrets buried deeper than the moat's murk. Some hail her as charming a siren whose touch ignites desire. Others brand her dangerous, backing away as if her crown hides thorns. Boldly she wears both unapologetic, her reputation a weapon sharper than any blade. In the end, strangled by shadow's enemy or ally, who can say she leaves a trail of drama power etched in blood-soaked ballads that still hum through Italian nights. Joanna wasn't just queen, she was the storm that headlines begged to chase. You awaken in the 12th century, where Eleanor of Aquitaine doesn't merely exist, she commands it, flipping thrones like pages in a forbidden tome. Queen of France at 15, wed to Louis VII, a man pious as a monk, awkward as a stumbling squire, his energy tied to relics rather than the fire in her veins. You feel her restlessness witty and wealthy, her falcon-sharp gaze wandering as their union crumbles like dry parchment. The Second Crusade calls a desert march in armour heavy as regret. Louis weeps over holy bones, while Eleanor packs silks and musicians her uncle, the Prince of Antioch drawing her eye with a handsome allure that sparks rumours like wildfire. Whispers of stolen embraces in tent shadows, Louis's frown deepening into cracks. Over a cold Damascus supper, the marriage shatters, annulment whispers through the air, freeing her to sprint back to Aquitaine, her heart pounding with the thrill of escape. She wasn't playing the game, she was rewriting it, wine in hand sonnet on her lips, a queen unbound. You race back to Aquitaine, the dust of Damascus still on your boots, Eleanor's annulment, a fresh wound that heals into freedom. She doesn't linger in solitude. Her eyes lock on Henry Plantagenet, 11 years her junior, his red hair like flames, his temper a storm unpredictable and thrilling, precisely her match. Their union ignites, producing 10 children amid the clash of swords and the heat of tangled sheets, their household a cauldron of passive-aggressive barbs and fervent reconciliations. But Eleanor isn't content with mere motherhood. In Poitiers, her court blooms into a haven of poetry and desire. She champions courtly love where noble ladies command adoration from knights with cheekbones sharp as daggers and hearts riddled with longing. Rules dictate from afar, but you know better. Stolen glances ignite into lute-strumming trysts behind heavy tapestries, walks that end in shadowed alcoves where breaths mingle and fabrics whisper secrets. Her domain pulses with passion unchecked nobles, flocking like moths to her flame, their impulses unchecked in this den of elegant excess. You sense the shift in the air. Henry's eyes wandering from monogamy's cage, his betrayals like thorns under Eleanor's skin. She doesn't weep. She plots channeling a mother's fierce love into rebellion, arming her sons against their father in a war of blood and broken oaths. Henry's fury erupts. He's not amused capturing her and confining her to castle walls for 16 long years. But imprisonment. For Eleanor, it's merely a pause, a shadow chamber where she sips wine, pens venomous letters, and weaves vengeance through her children's ambitions. You imagine her there, gaze fixed on the distant horizons, her mind a labyrinth of intrigue, turning isolation into a forge for sharper schemes. She emerges, not broken, but tempered, her spirit unyielding as the stone that held her. In this Game of Thrones, she didn't just survive, she orchestrated the chaos, her legacy a tapestry of defiance woven with threads of desire and dark wit. You step into the lavish courts of 1314 France, where Margaret of Burgundy appears the epitome of royal perfection, royal blood pulsing through her veins, but to Louis, the future king, her fur-trimmed gowns clinging to curves that whisper of untapped fire. On parchment, she's the model wife, demure at dinners, no poison slipped into chalices, just quiet grace. But boredom festers like a hidden wound. Her marriage to Louis a bland stew of charisma, as exciting as boiled cabbage. You feel her pulse quicken, tired of feigned seduction, over tax reform tales, her fingers itching for something raw. Enter the Tour de Nesle affair, a name dripping with drama like blood from a fresh cut. Margaret and her sister-in-law Blanche lure two Norman knights into shadows, handsome, bold, their touches igniting forbidden flames in the tower by the Seine. The air thick with whispers and moans, mildly haunted stones echoing less than courtly gasps. The privacy a veil for heated embraces and betrayals that could topple thrones. Intrigue coils like a serpent, their nights a rebellion against monotony, senses alive with the thrill of secrecy and skin. You watch the unravelling, the night's capture, hinging on absurdity pillowcases with royal patterns, stolen linens betraying their trysts like a thief's footprint in snow. Servants' eyes narrow whispers, turn to accusations. No grand espionage, just laundry's damning evidence. King Philip IV's rage erupts, his face twisting like storm clouds, amusement long fled. The knights face tortures, visceral horror, flesh, flayed bones cracked under Aaron, executed publicly with blades flashing in the sun, blood soaking the scaffold in dramatic sprays. Margaret, once charming, is hurled into Chateau Gaillard's grim embrace, A fortress as cheerful as a grave, cold winds, howling through bars like accusatory ghosts. 2 years drag her end, shrouded illness, claiming her or suffocation's silent grip. Perhaps her husband's hand seeking a clean slate for his crown. History blurs the lines, silent on returned pillowcases, but her crime lingers too alluring in the wrong tower, with wrong men on forbidden sheets. In medieval France, charm became erasure, her legacy a cautionary echo of desire's deadly price betrayal's blade-cutting deep. You enter the gilded cage of 1308 England, where Isabella of France possesses all a Queen Desire's royal lineage, pulsing like a hidden vein, a crown heavy with jewels, French shoes clicking on marble floors that echo her growing disdain. Wed to Edward II, tall and handsome, yet his heart beats more fiercely for his male favourites, their embraces stealing the warmth meant for her bed. From the start, competition slithers in like a shadow. Edward's attachment to Piers Gaveston, a knight with fashion's flair and a bat-like tactlessness, burns brighter than any marital flame. You see Edward lavish titles, lands, and lingering touches on him, the kind that take years to earn from a wife. At the coronation feast, Gaveston's jewels outshine Isabella's, his smug eyeliner, catching the light as she notices her fingers tightening on a goblet like a vice. Exiled once, recalled exiled again. Gaveston's head finally rolls under Noble's blades, their annoyance sharper than steel. Isabella might weep a tear or not, her gaze already hardening, the marital drama simmering toward a boil. You feel the tension coil tighter as Edward replaces Gaveston with Hugh Despenser, a man whose greed devours like a plague, making his predecessor seem a mere picnic nuisance. Despenser infiltrates not just the king's chambers, but the treasury's depths, the council's whispers haunting Noble's nightmares with his insatiable grasp. He exiles Isabella's allies, seizes her lands with a predator's swipe, insults her publicly bold folly for queens. Remember slights like scars. By 1326 her patience snaps. With her son, the future Edward III, she flees to France under diplomacy's guise, the sea air tasting of rebellion. There, Roger Mortimer awaits a noble with a jawline carved from defiance, his rebellious streak matching her fire, his marital status conveniently open. Their alliance ignites. Together they unleashed an invasion on England, a queen storming her own shores with a lover and teenage heir in tow. It succeeds. Edward captured, deposed in a whirlwind of betrayal, his fall a symphony of clashing steel and shattered loyalties. Isabella's hands, though veiled, bear the stain of victory's blood. You taste the iron tang of victory as rumours fester around Edward II's prison. Death whispers of a red-hot poker thrust in shadows graphic and grim, though historians dismiss it as embroidered malice. Still, Isabella's grip on power isn't spotless. Her hands, stained by implication, steer England as regent for years, sharing rule and likely silken blankets with Mortimer, their alliance a web of ambition and heated nights. But thrones are treacherous. Her son tires of the spectacle, overthrowing them in a swift coup blades drawn in the dim corridors of betrayal. Isabella isn't broken, merely retired to comfort castles with soft beds, wine flowing like forgotten grievances. You see her there, a queen who entered as a bride, fragile yet fierce, and emerges a legend. Her story etched in blood and desire, a testament to resilience wrapped in sarcasm. Congrats on the crown, Petey about the poker tales. She needed a break after all from the savage dance of power. You're born into Agnes of Neville, the Perverted world, a tapestry of poetry's silk and politics, thorns, dynasties, whispering passive aggressions like lovers' quarrels. Daughter of a king's sister to a troubadour queen, She navigates alliances where a stolen kiss mends empires or shatters them. Wed to James IV of Aragon, grandson of James II, her husband teeters on lunacy's edge, not the artistic whirl, but screams at treasonous curtains. His madness, a cage, she refuses to share alone. You feel her turn away, seeking solace in others' arms, quietly, repeatedly, her taste eclectic nights with calloused hands tracing her skin, courtiers murmuring intrigues in heated brows, musicians whose lutes strum rhythms, matching her pulse, even a monk faltering on vows under her gaze. Charming and cultured, fluent in flirtation's tongue, more vital than Latin in Aragon's courts, deadlier too. Secrets echo off stone walls, servants' boredom birthing rumours that swirl like smoke, her love life a psalm rewritten in scandal's ink. You hear the castle walls breathe secrets, Agnes's affairs no longer veiled, as rumours cascade like spilled wine, her lovers' names tangled in courtly tongues, more gripping than holy psalms. No trial fames her guilt, no tortured confessions echo, yet shadows lengthen, a rival vanishes in silence. A gossipy maid's throat slit in the night, a courtier tripping into the moat's embrace. His scream swallowed by water dark as betrayal. Was Agnes the puppeteer, her hand guiding the blade? History shrugs, but kitchen staff bolt spice cabinets at her approach, fearing poison's kiss. Her husband's death, shockingly natural, frees her to a convent's hush, not from remorse's weight, but tradition's pull, where noble women pray away scandals in cloistered peace. No remarriage tempts her. Suitors quail, or perhaps she finds solace among nuns' unquestioning eyes. Heirs elude her, but her legacy whispers on corridor echoes courtly warnings. Love poems cut short like lives, a testament to flirtation's fatal edge. You're thrust into Joanna of Castile's turbulent heart princess, by birthright queen by decree, a living warning of love's devouring flames. Wed to Philip the Handsome, his title no jest, with blonde locks cascading like sunlight calves sculpted for admiration, a smirk promising neglect of domestic duties, she falls utterly, her royal poise crumbling under passion's assault. Their marriage ignites fiercely bodies entwined in heated nights until betrayal creeps in like fog. Philip's charm proves fickle, his infidelities blatant, a parade of lovers that stoke Joanna's rage fits of fury erupt, interrogations sharp as daggers, even hair-pulling skirmishes in shadowed halls. You feel her desperation, clinging to a man whose smirks now mock. Then 1506 strikes Philip. Collapses dead after a ball game cold water, the vague culprit suspicious as a poisoned chalice in Renaissance whispers. Joanna's grief explodes, not veiled mourning, but a macabre devotion unearthing his corpse to cradle it, her lips brushing cold flesh in forbidden kisses. You plunge into Joanna's unravelling her grief, a vortex, swallowing reason after Philip's abrupt end, cold water after sport or excuses thin as mist veiling, perhaps a darker hand. Devastation grips her not with black veils and stoic tears, but a macabre obsession she commands the coffin unearthed, carried like a relic through Castile's wind-swept paths. You witness her pry it open repeatedly, fingers trembling over his decaying form, ensuring no thief claims her beloved's husk, her lips pressing against cold lifeless ones in a kiss that defies death's barrier. Jealousy lingers even in mourning. No women approach the corpse lest they tempt his spectral fidelity, Philip, ever the flight risk. She halts at monasteries, sleeping beside the box rumours whispering of nights spent within its embrace, chroniclers averting eyes from the discomfort, Whispers swell into panic, her father Ferdinand deeming her mad, confining her to a convent stone solitude for 46 years, a record of royal torment. Was it true insanity or grief's savage clasp on a betrayer, historians spar? But Joanna endures as queen of post-mortem passion, her living deeds eclipsed by death's dark remnants. You confront the myth head-on, no? Catherine the Great didn't perish in equine intimacy's throes, but the rumour's persistence reeks of 18th century venom, gossip mills grinding overtime against a woman who dared annoy the mighty. Technically beyond medieval bounds, her scandal's weight earns entry a German princess thrust into Russian royalty wedding. Peter III, a Tsar more boy with toy soldiers than emperor. His Prussian fetish chilling their bet like Siberian frost. He plays at war while ignoring her curves, so Catherine, ambitious flame in a frozen union, seeks warmth elsewhere. Lovers multiply officers with calloused grips, nobles whispering intrigues and heated breaths, poets whose verses match her pulse, perhaps a craftsman shaping more than wood. Ages vary, one barely 18 to her 60, less outrage, more inspiration in desire's defiance. But she's no fool. Calculating as a chess master, she bestows estates and titles like royal favours, a loyalty scheme where performance yields land failure exiles bite. Her court pulses with this web of passion and power, each tryst a thread in her empire's tapestry. You delve deeper into the absurdity of that equine rumour birthed post-mortem by spiteful foes or idle nobles, a tale so grotesquely implausible it should have withered. Yet it festered a weapon against a woman who wielded power sans a man's shadow. Reforms she forged, rebellions crushed with iron fist veiled in silk, the church politely told to retreat. Naturally, detractors conjured livestock and lurid mechanics to diminish her. In truth, a stroke felled her in bed, clad and alone, no beasts in sight, but scandal's seed took root, thriving on misogyny's fertile soil. People crave the salacious over the factual, turning her life's bold scandals into death's mythic excess. Catherine didn't bed a horse. She mounted history with unyielding reins. Her legacy, a gallop of empowerment and wit, congrats on outlasting the Tsars, pity about the barnyard tales. She ruled not just Russia, but the narrative of defiance, her story, a seductive echo of resilience amid betrayal's blades. You shatter the illusion of dainty queens stitching by firelight. Meet Fredegund of Neustria, devout in marital vows, royal poise and plunging daggers into foes' throats. Born a servant, she ascends with ruthless charm. Her rise a trail of charisma, and corpse's efficiency that demands respect or fear. Catching King Chilperic Rousseau's eye, his first queen fades mysteriously. Post her arrival, shocking truly as if fate's hand wore her glove. The second Galswinther strangled in silken sheets soon after vows. Fredegund's denials ring with pillow-clutching innocence. Wed to Chilperic, she doesn't soften. She sharpens knife tucked under her pillow, not as metaphor, but midnight guardian ready for whispers, turning to threats. Bedtime. A potential slaughter, her blade flashing in moonlit ambushes. Rivals poisoned over wine, a rude bishop vanishing into fog, gossipy servants, silenced eternally her hand, or one she commands leaves no trace but dread. Compared to listmates, she's the storm making them seem child's play with spoons. Fredegund embodies the knife cold keen, ever poised to strike. You plunge into Fredegund's relentless storm, her blade never dulling as she escalates from personal vendettas to royal carnage. Feared yet revered mostly through terror's lens, she poisons political thorns with a sip of tainted wine, vanishes, rude bishops in midnight abductions, their screams echoing into oblivion. Her epic feud with sister-in-law Brunhilde of Austrasia transforms sibling rivalry into a decades-long saga of savagery, a royal mean girls war laced with assassinations where daggers replace whispers and blood stains the tapestries. Fredegund dispatches a killer to slit Brunhilde's son's throat during mass subtlety, forsaken for visceral impact, the blade flashing amid incense and prayers. Even her husband's suspicious end poison or stab in the dark propels her to Regency, for son Clothal, where she crushes rebellions with iron fists, negotiates diplomacy over drawn swords, and perhaps claims one more life at a feast fork turning fatal. Peacefully she slips away in bed, a cosmic jest amid her lifetime of violence. Congrats on the quiet exit, pity the body count. She wasn't just the knife, she forged an era of sharp survival, her legacy a warning: love fiercely strike, brutally rule defiantly. You awaken in Tudor England's treacherous courts, where Anne Boleyn isn't destined for queenship, but seizes it with wit sharper than a headsman's axe. Not born to the crown, she rises through Henry's gaze, her dark eyes promising forbidden fires, her neck graceful yet doomed. You feel the heat of their affair, stolen moments in shadowed alcoves, her laughter mingling with his growls as they plot against Queen Catherine, intrigue weaving like spider silk. Sensuality pulses in their trysts. Anne's fingers tracing Henry's jaw breaths, heavy with desire, amid political whispers, birthing Elizabeth, but no son sealing her fate. Accusations erupt, adultery, incest, witchcraft, visceral trials where lovers turn traitors, blades drawn in betrayal's dance. Her execution looms, sword-slicing clean blood, spraying the scaffold as she whispers defiance. Yet her echo lingers, empowering the marginalized, debunking chivalric myths with raw hunger. And beyond whispers of other queens, Mary of Scots ensnared in plots and passions. Catherine de' Medici poisoning rivals with scented gloves, each a thread in this tapestry of savage resilience. Forget embroidered sighs these women loved with claws ruled with knives. Their scandals a hypnotic rhythm of power and peril, drawing you into history's dark embrace. You tread the mud-slick paths of a 13th century village, the night air thick with frost and foreboding, as the midwife stirs in her thatched hut, her calloused hands ever ready for the scream that pierces the dark. She's no heroine in gilded tales, but the anchor in life's raw storm, sweat-slicked, blood-soaked whispering charms against the spirits that lurk at birth's edge. You feel her pulse quicken at the knock, a husband's frantic plea pulling her into the fray where labour's violence unfolds like a battlefield groans, turning to guttural roars, bodies twisting in agony's grip. She draws protective circles with chalk wards off the whispering demons that crave newborn souls, her knife under the bed glinting like a talisman against the supernatural chill. Intrigue simmers too, the church's eyes watch, suspecting witchcraft in her herbs and murmurs. Sensuality lingers in the tactile intimacy, her fingers pressing into swollen flesh, breaths mingling in the dim glow. a forbidden closeness amid the peril. No rest for her, no luxury, just the relentless pull of urgency, the weight of lives slipping through her grasp or clinging tight. Uncredited, unshakable, she fights the shadows, her sarcasm, a shield congrats on the air, pity about the hauntings. In this gritty dance of birth and death, she's the thread holding the veil thin. You step into the smoky confines of a medieval hut, a young girl shadowing the elder midwife, her eyes wide with the raw education that no parchment holds, no textbooks, no diplomas, just the visceral apprenticeship of blood and screams. It begins innocently stoking fires that cast flickering shadows like lurking spirits, boiling water that steams with herbal scents, masking the metallic tang of birth's violence. Then up close you witness the storm women groaning bodies convulsing in labour's brutal embrace. New life tearing free in a slick rush of fluids and cries that echo like battlefield wails. Terror grips her at first, the choice stark: commit to this savage intimacy, or flee forever. Staying means diving in, cleaning the squalling infant, tying the cord with trembling fingers, applying poultices to torn flesh where pain lingers like a lover's bite. Under the elder's gaze she learns danger's signs, breaths, hitching before blood loss fells the mother, ominous silences heralding a stillborn's hush. Knowledge flows orally, folklore wrapped in warnings. Don't cut too soon lest spirits claim the afterbirth. Rosemary under pillows to banish the devil's grasp. Her first solar birth. A forge of fire if the mother survives the hemorrhage's red flood, if the babe wails against the supernatural pull trust blooms. But it's more than skill nerve to face the gore compassion amid the intrigue of village whispers accusing witchcraft calm as accusations swirl like smoke. You feel her transformation, hands chapped from endless night's joints, aching from positions that coax life from death's jaws. Eyes haunted by too many losses, yet she persists a guardian in the shadows. You grasp the midwife's humble satchel, no gleaming scalpels or sterile forceps within, but an arsenal forged from earth's whispers and instinct's edge, improvised tools carried with the quiet assurance of battles won in blood-soaked huts. Herbs form her core, a verdant pharmacy pennyroyal to stir sluggish wombs, mugwort's bitter brew easing cramps like a lover's caress, turned fierce yarrow, staunching blood's relentless flow, shepherd's purse clamping vessels shut amid the chaos, boiled into teas that steam with earthy promise, ground into poultices, pressed against torn skin or burned for aromas that ward off infection's invisible claws. Some remedies heal with science's subtle hand, others bind with symbolism's thread, all woven into ritual's tapestry. Swaddling cloths, vinegar-soaked or wine-dipped cleanse, without knowing bacteria's name, their tang a barrier against festering wounds. Oils, olive's golden slide, or almonds' soothing glide. Massage bellies taut with life-easing tears in flesh where birth's violence rends. A sharp knife or shears severs the cord's pulsing link, and if breath falters she sucks mucus free or swings the babe, gently rousing cries from limp forms. Charms add the supernatural layer, St. Margaret's carved idol by the bed amulets dangling like wards against demonic gazes, crosses etched on lintels, iron needles, piercing straw to repel evil's grasp. The church scowls but she hedges, bets her touch repositioning, breaches by feel alone, intuition guiding through the female body's mysteries, no monitors, just hands delving deep senses alive to the intrigue of hidden dangers and forbidden lore. You immerse in the medieval birth's savage symphony, no gentle cradle, but a tempest of screams and unpredictability far deadlier than modern minds fathom the midwife. Its unflinching guide not commanding like a surgeon, but witnessing steering, fragile lives through peril's jaws with resolve alone. Dim huts flicker with firelight, smoke curling like spirits banished by shuttered windows, women squatting on birthing stools or kneeling in straw encircled by kin, whose hands clasp in solidarity amid the gore. Men exile this realm, women's alone, the midwife reigning with quiet command, her eyes scanning Fromans, breaths ragged before fainting, spells, bellies, shifting in ominous patterns, pain's pitch signalling deeper rifts. Silence terrifies stuck babes or hemorrhagers lurking like assassins in the shadows. She acts swift yet steady, voice firm over wails, fingers probing, urging positions that relieve pressure's vice or restart stalled labours. When fortune smiles, the child emerges slick and wailing, tears morphing to joyous sobs, relief flooding like dawn. But dangers pounce, blood gushes, and she stuffs rags or thrusts her hand into the womb's red maw, staunching the flood with desperate pressure. Breathless infants rouse under rubs, warmth swings, or her mouth breathing life into tiny lungs, traditions gasp against death's clutch. Stillbirths and maternal ends haunt often. She cleans corpses with stoic grace, wraps the lost in linen, shrouds, murmurs prayers to saints amid grief's raw edge. If fading fast, she baptizes emergently with wine, or spit defying church edicts to save souls from limbo's void. A forbidden act sparking intrigue and accusations of witchcraft. No miracles, just warriors fight against agony's blade. Blood's torrent deaths hover, sometimes victorious, her sarcasm a balm. Congrats on the cry pity the shadows won this round. She persists, resilient thread in humanity's defiant weave. You teeter on life's razor edge in the medieval birthing chamber, where death's shadow looms largest, the midwife not merely deliverer, but soul's gatekeeper. Her role laced with spiritual peril and village intrigue. Church doctrine in thunders, unbaptized infants drift to limbo's grey void, eternally severed from heaven's light. No torment yet, an endless exile that twists grieving hearts. In remote huts, priests miles away through blizzards or night, she's the lone sentinel. When a babe emerges, blue-lipped breath stilled like a cursed hush, she acts sprinkling wine's crimson drops, or her own spit murmuring sacred vows. I baptize thee in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, defying edicts to snatch a soul from damnation's jaws. Forbidden yet eyes avert, for salvation trumps rules in blood's heat. But peril stalks her, a dead babe or mother sparks whispers like venomous serpents. Was it wrong? Herbs delaying the push? Or darker pacts with forest spirits? Suspicion festers, her folk charms branded witchcraft's mark, as sis on single tragedy turning saviour to suspect. Family's grief curdles to rage, banning her lashing with accusations, reporting to authorities where torches await. You feel the weight saving dozens. Yet one slip invites the noose or flame her hands. Tactile healers in birth's sensual agony now targets in a web of theological betrayal and supernatural dread. You navigate the midwife's precarious tightrope suspended between fervent faith and seething suspicion in her world, a clash of church spires and shadowed folk wisdom where one misstep invites the inquisitor's blade. The church eyes her warily essential, yes, no priest dares the hut's bloody intimacy, but feared operating beyond their male grasp, deciding baptisms in Latin-tinged whispers, her prayers blending with charms that smack of heresy. Clerics impose oaths in dim chapels, swear off magic's lure abortions, sin, blasphemy amid screams. Some face interrogations, communion denied over rumours or a lost soul on her watch. Yet she's no witch, just pragmatic wielding herbs that end pregnancies or soothe fevers boiling water in hearths, not cauldrons under moons. her hands delving into bodies' mysteries with trembling resolve. Accusations mount in the 14th century's witch-fear fever miscarriages, pinned on her curses, deformities as demonic pacts, infertility a spell's revenge. Whispers growl, mother's scare or midwife's devilish invite. Irony bites her life-saving salves, chants, warding supernatural whispers, charms against evil eyes, now evidence for the stake. She treads carefully, crossing herself before amulets invoking saints amid herb mixes, framing heals as divine prayers. Not just birthing babes, she's shielding herself from betrayal's sting, each delivery a trial where suspicion's blade hovers. In women's silenced era, she embodies defiant power resilient against the church's grip and the village's dark gazes. You enter the sacred enclave of the medieval birthing room, a rare bastion, where women seize control in an era that chains them to shadows. No men permitted, unless catastrophe's blade slices too deep the space, a sweaty, tight-knit realm, ruled by female bonds forged in pain's fire and prayer's hush. Birth unfolds not in isolation, but encircled by trusted kin sisters clasping hands slick with sweat, aunts murmuring ancient lullabies, neighbours bearing hot cloths that soothe like forbidden touches amid labour's throes. They don't merely observe, they uphold the mother massaging backs, arched in agony, whispering encouragements that cut through screams, singing songs woven with folklore's threads to coax unborn souls from the veil. The midwife commands this circle like a shadowed queen, her voice barking orders over wails, slaps to jolt from panic's grip, demands for water boiling with herbs that ward supernatural whispers, yet tenderness threads through soothing glances tales of past triumphs, charms passed hand to hand their warmth, a sensual anchor in the chaos. This gathering transcends practicality, its armour against deaths. Lurk, rituals binding wrists with ribbons against evil's tug, candles flickering to the Virgin's grace, wine poured to appease lurking spirits in earth's cracks. When the babe emerges wailing and wet joy erupts, cheers mingle with tears, crosses signed in relief, perhaps bread and ale shared in triumphant haze. In a world denying women agency, this room pulses with raw power, the midwife, its fierce guardian, preserving not just infants, but the woven threads of sisterhood, secrets whispered in blood's rhythm, love's defiance clawing against patriarchal chains. You witness the midwife's grueling path, no gilded calling, but a toil born of necessity, thankless and often barren of coin, yet a slender ladder to status and purpose in a society that starves women of both peasant healers or widows rising through reputations etched in blood and births. Nobility eludes most. There are village anchors summoned at whim bartering skills for scraps, bread loaves warm from ovens, chickens clucking promises, or vows of harvest, shares that vanish like mist if death claims mother or child, grief twisting to accusation sharp as daggers, payments whimsy in towns, coins clink, or gifts of wine and wool arrive, but villages offer hollow pledges, success breeding quiet power, respect laced with fear, trust deeper than priests in labour's grip where no man dares tread. By late 1800s, cities formalise her role. Parish appointments or licences from physicians' probing eyes, a blend of medicine and moral chains, yet wages remain meagre status symbolic amid risk's blade. Exhaustion dogs her irregular halls, suspicion's shadow ever near, yet she endures not for gold but the sacred rush of each cry, a victory snatched from death's jaws belonging solely to her chapped hands. In this resilient weave, she empowers the overlooked, her sarcasm a wry shield, congrats on the status, pity the empty purse and endless nights. You endure the midwife's ceaseless grind, her body a vessel of exhaustion in the medieval haze, where nights blur into bloody dawns, her livelihood a fickle flame flickering against suspicion's gusts. No wealth crowns her efforts. Payments scatter like autumn leaves bartered, chickens or bread, promises that curdle if death's shadow falls, accusations rising like vengeful spirits from grieving kin. Yet she presses on her status a quiet throne, built on birth's brutal victories, respected in whispers deeper than church bells feared, as the harbinger of supernatural whispers or herbal curses. Intrigue dogs, her steps village eyes narrow at her solitary walks, gathering herbs that could heal or hex rumours of pacts with forest entities swirling like mist. Sensuality weaves through the toil, her hands gliding over swollen curves, breaths shared in intimate urgings, a tactile bond amid labour's violence where tears and sweat mingle like forbidden lovers. Risks loom visceral, a hemorrhage's red torrent demanding her plunge into the womb's chaos, blades glinting. If complications turn deadly, the church's inquisitors lurking with torches for perceived witchcraft. But perseverance burns fierce. Each wail of new life, a sacred triumph snatched from death's claws, fuels her congrats on the breath pity that endless ache. Inconsistencies plague her irregular summons, empty purses, yet she anchors the community, empowering women in shadowed huts, her sarcasm a wry armour against the storm. She doesn't chase coin, she claims the raw power of creation defiant in a world that seeks to chain her resilient thread in humanity's savage tapestry. You trace the midwife's fading silhouette in history's dim corridors, her end unmarked by monuments or tomes, yet her essence ripples through generations like unseen currents in a bloodied stream. Poor and nameless she slips away, no statues rising for the hands that cradled countless lives, her tales preserved in parish scratches or whispered accusations of dark arts. Buried with quiet thanks or forgotten amid scandals, her herbs and tools passed to apprentices like forbidden relics, knowledge enduring orally herbs to staunch floods, prayers, warding, spectral grasps, positions coaxing breaches from peril's edge. Impact echoes silently every mother, surviving the gore of mud-flawed births. Every infant's first gasp against supernatural lures owes debt to her tactile sorcery hands, delving into mysteries where violence and sensuality entwine. Intrigue shadows her legacy, church edicts branding her charms as devil's work, yet women remember empowering the marginalized, debunking male doctrines with gritty realism. By the 15th century, formal medicine's grip tightens male physicians, invading the chamber with Latin tomes and degrees, pushing her aside sometimes by decree blades of law, cutting her from the circle romanticised or erased in chronicles. But in 1200s or 1400s, she commands the Stormblood's torrent fears, howl, superstitions clutch birthing life, not by invitation but necessity. Names lost, deeds endure. Quiet, repeated, brave in humanity's defiant pulse, a hypnotic rhythm of resilience amid betrayal's edge. You're in Rome 121 CE, where a boy named Marcus Annius Verus is born into a world of marble and ambition. He's no street urchin, his family's senatorial, dripping with wealth and connections, his grandfather a consul. But young Marcus isn't chasing toy swords or chariot races. Picture him a serious kid, all furrowed brows and big questions, pondering life's weight while others wrestle. His quiet intensity catches Emperor Hadrian's eye, who dubs him Verissimus, most truthful a nickname that sticks like prophecy. You see him trailing tutors, soaking up Greek Latin and rhetoric, but it's stoicism that hooks him. Epictetus and Seneca aren't just homework. They're his moral map, urging him to sleep on hard floors, wear plain cloaks, and fast to toughen his soul. No one's forcing this, he's choosing it like a monk in a toga. Hadrian's succession plan pulls Marcus into power's orbit when his first heir dies. Hadrian adopts Antoninus Pius, who adopts Marcus as his own. You're watching a teenager on a slow conveyor belt to the throne, not hungry for it, but dutiful. His education's relentless, forging a mind sharper than a gladius, ready to wrestle an empire's chaos. Marcus isn't just growing up, he's building an inner citadel brick by stoic brick for a future heavier than Rome's golden eagles. You're shadowing young Marcus Aurelius, a stoic teen in Rome's gilded maze where power's a burden he's learning to shoulder. Picture him under Hadrian's watchful gaze, marked as Verissimus for his unnerving honesty. When Hadrian's heir dies, the emperor orchestrates a chess move. He adopts Antoninus Pius, a steady hand, with the condition that Antoninus adopts Marcus as his successor. You see Marcus barely past boyhood, thrust onto a path to the throne, not craving it, but accepting it like a stoic. Facing reign unavoidable, so endure it. Antoninus, calm and efficient, becomes his mentor, ruling for decades, while Marcus studies every law, every edict like a scholar, prepping for an exam he can't fail. You're in the Senate's shadow, watching him absorb governance, patience, and the art of listening over shouting. His nights are spent with Seneca's scrolls, not wine-soaked feasts, his mind sharpening against philosophy's grindstone. He fast sleeps rough, not for show, but to forge a soul tougher than Rome's walls. Power looms a duty he dreads, yet embraces, knowing emperors don't get to quit. You feel his quiet resolve, a boy becoming a man who'd rather wrestle ideas than armies, yet fate's carving him into Rome's next philosopher king. In this marble jungle, Marcus isn't chasing glory, he's bracing for a crown that weighs heavier than gold. It's 161 CE, and you're in Rome as Marcus Aurelius, now 40 steps onto the throne, not with trumpets, but with a stoic's grim nod. Antoninus Pius is dead, and Marcus reluctant but ready ascends. Picture him refusing to rule alone, insisting his adoptive brother Lucius Verus share the crown. It's humility dressed as strategy. Rome's too vast, too chaotic for one man, even a philosopher. You see Marcus, all discipline and scrolls, beside Lucius, a party-loving gladiator fan who'd rather hire chefs than senators. They're oil and water, yet it works mostly because Marcus handles the paperwork while Lucius plays soldier. Trouble hits fast, the Parthian Empire stirs in the east, itching for a fight. You're in the war room watching Marcus orchestrate logistics while Lucius leads legions. The campaign drags, but Rome wins score 1 for the odd couple, but victory's sour. Returning soldiers bring a plague, maybe smallpox, that'll kill millions. You feel Marcus's weight as cities empty, crops rot, and panic spreads. He doesn't flinch, turning to his stoic core control your mind, not the chaos. This isn't a reign of parades, it's a test of endurance. Marcus, the scholar emperor, governs with a pen in one hand, philosophy in the other, holding Rome together while the world frays. In this storm he's not a king basking in glory, he's a man doing his duty one grim breath at a time. You're in Rome's nerve centre, 161 CE, as Marcus Aurelius grapples with a world on fire. The Parthian Empire, Rome's eastern rival, picks a fight, seizing Armenia like it's a market stall. Picture yourself beside Marcus, his stoic calm a shield, as he dispatches Lucius Verus to lead the legions. You're poring over maps, funneling gold and grain to the front, while Lucius swings swords in the desert. The war grinds on years of dust and blood, but Rome triumphs by 166, Parthia's humbled borders secured. You'd cheer, but fate's got a cruel encore. The victorious legions drag home a plague, likely smallpox, that spreads like wildfire through a straw hut. Cities choke on death. You see markets, empty fields rot, and soldiers Rome's spine drop by the thousands. 5 million may perish before it's done. Marcus doesn't curse the gods or hide in a villa. You're with him in the Senate issuing relief, calming panic, his face etched with duty. The plague's a test, and his stoic mantra, control your mind, not the chaos, holds him steady. But whispers of weakness reach the Danube where Germanic tribes eye Rome's faltering grip. You feel the Empire's pulse falter, yet Marcus, pen in hand, eyes weary, keeps writing orders, clinging to reason. This isn't glory, it's survival, and Marcus is Rome's heartbeat, stoic and stubborn in a world unravelling. It's the early 170s CE, and you're trudging north with Marcus Aurelius swapping Rome's marble for mud and menace. The Germanic tribes, Marcomanni Quadi summations, smell blood, exploiting the plague-weakened empire to storm the Danube frontier. Picture yourself in Marcus's camp, no palace in sight, just tents and the stench of war. He's no armchair emperor. You see him toga traded for a soldier's cloak inspecting fortifications, his breath fogging in the cold. The tribes hit hard, using guerrilla tricks and terrain Rome's legions struggle to master. You're at Marcus's side as he reorganises battered cohorts, drafts slaves and foreigners into service. Purists grumble, but he needs fighters, not pedigrees. Between battles you catch him scribbling meditations, his private journal not for glory but survival. You have power over your mind, not outside events. It's soul armour for a man facing chaos. You feel the grind disease lingers, supplies dwindle and morale's as thin as winter ice. Yet Marcus presses on, negotiating with tribes offering land to those who kneel, sparing lives where generals urge slaughter. His stoicism isn't cold, it's a raft in a storm. You're in the muck with him watching a philosopher king fight not for conquest, but to hold Rome's fraying edges. This war's no epic, it's a grim test, and Marcus meets it with ink steel and stubborn grace. You're in a frostbitten camp on the Danube 170 CE, where Marcus Aurelius, emperor of a crumbling Rome, sits by flickering lamplight penning meditations. Picture the scene: mud-soaked tents, wounded soldiers groaning, and Marcus wrapped in a soldier's cloak, scribbling not for fame but for sanity. This isn't a grand treatise. It's a private diary, a stoic's lifeline in a world gone mad. You read over his shoulder, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realise this, and you will find strength. Each word's a brick in his inner fortress, built to withstand plague, war and betrayal. The Marcomannic wars rage, Germanic tribes hit hard, and Rome's legions limp, but Marcus writes to remind himself to stay just rational, humane. You feel the weight of his quill, scratching Greek in the dark, quoting Epictetus, wrestling with despair. He's not preaching to senators. He's coaching himself, a man alone with an empire's chaos. No triumphal arches for him, just these raw quiet notes, a philosopher king's shield against a collapsing world. You're there in the cold as he pauses, breath visible, to inspect a fort or calm a panicked officer, then returns to his scroll. Meditations isn't about glory. It's about enduring mud, blood and doubt with a stubborn will to do right, one stoic breath at a time. You're trudging through the Danube's muck 170s CE, beside Marcus Aurelius, where war's chaos tests his stoic soul. The Marcomannic tribes hammer Rome's plague-weakened borders, their guerrilla raids relentless. Picture Marcus no marble throne here, just a cloak stained with frontier grit leading legions himself. His generals push for scorched earth slaughter, but you see him choose diplomacy, offering land to surrendering tribes, sparing lives where cruelty's easier. His stoicism isn't aloof, it's a lifeline grounding him in reason when chaos screams. You watch him reorganize legions, draft slaves and foreigners, despite Rome's snobbery, because survival trumps tradition. Between battles he scribbles meditations, urging himself, do not be cruel even to enemies. You feel the tension, soldiers weary, supplies thin, yet Marcus stays calm, his orders steady as a heartbeat. He negotiates with tribal chiefs, inspects crumbling forts and bans, unnecessary bloodshed, proving philosophy can survive a battlefield's blood and mud. This isn't conquest fever, it's duty heavy as a legion's shield. You're in the frost, seeing a man fight not for glory but for Rome's fragile seams, his stoic principles a quiet rebellion against war's savagery. Marcus isn't just an emperor, he's a sage in armour holding the line with wisdom sharper than any gladius. You're in the shadow of Rome's grandeur 170 CE, where Marcus Aurelius carries not just an empire, but a heart heavy with grief. Picture him stoic emperor married to Faustina the Younger, a political match that bloomed into something like love. Together they had 13 children, but Rome's cruel god spared only a few. You see Marcus bury eight tiny lives snuffed out by disease or fate, each loss a side